Three, two, one. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Wellness Speak Live. I am your host, DJ Tony, and today I have a special guest, my friend Mike. Mike, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Mr. C? I call you Mr. C because it's respectful.
Thank you, bro. Now, today we're going to be talking about, is hair restoration for you? People watching. So, my friend Mike, you just had your restoration done not too long ago, and I wanted to have you on because obviously it's part of wellness, our health, our appearance, and all those things kind of intertwine. But before I even go any further, I just want to say we're just two friends talking. We're not giving any medical advice in any shape, form, fashion, or way.
No.
Always check with your own healthcare professional. Okay, so thanks for coming on. Yeah, I wanted to have you on because of that. So I think you having this journey to get the hair restoration, I thought was very interesting. So I just want to touch on some things, and people watching, mostly men, but there are women out there who also are thinking about it or have had hair restoration, and it could be a game changer in one's life. I mean, on so many levels. So let me start off by asking you this, Mike. So, the big question anyone would have is, why did you choose to have hair restoration?
Great question, Mr. C. When I was 18 years old, I started noticing that not only was my hair graying, I was losing. Actually, no, let's go back even further. The first week of 7th grade, so what was I, 11, 12 years old, I started noticing that the right side of my hairline was receding.
Oh, wow.
And it always bugged me. And so that was an era, like in the 90s, early 2000s. I didn't gel my hair or anything. So the way around that was I would just flip the front, and it masked it. Nobody noticed. But the older I got, the more I was noticing that wasn't actually helping anymore. And it really took a dip of my self-esteem.
Right.
Because I love hair. Like, I've always loved styling. I mean, you've known me for
right.
a long time. I mean, you've Mr. C, you've actually dubbed me Mike Tomczyk, the man of 1,000 haircuts.
There you go. But and to your point, most people, not all, but most people, yeah, I mean, we don't think too much about how important hair is in our life, and especially on our head. So I know there's some people out there that might say, oh, that's nothing. What's the big deal? Well, it might not be a big deal to you, but to many people it is. And so to each his own, and so there's some people who they'll do a comb over. Some people will just go bald. Some people go get a hair restoration, whatever.
Men
works
won't
for that
tell you,
person.
and Mr. C, you know how
whatever works for you.
Men don't like talking about things that bother them.
Of course. That's why we die younger than women.
Right. And this is one of those things that men hate. To your point, you just mentioned a comb over. What better way of not accepting the problem than combing over your hair over your bald spot?
Well, again, right. And some people might like that. They may like, no, that's fine. Again, to each his own. But I think sometimes there's correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just anecdotal, but I've had people tell me like, oh, I would never do that, or why do they do that? Just accept the way God made you. And it's like, look, I mean, easy for that person to say, because that person, okay, they don't have a problem with it. Fine. No, go live your life. But if Mike or John or Steve or Michelle or whoever wants to get their hair restoration, so be it. Like, it's nothing, it's a good thing.
I don't think anybody has an issue with it per se, of no one really knows anything about this, and I think this is one of your questions for me, but it's something that I've wanted to do. And we've talked about this. I mean, I could probably tell you as far back as 2017, you and I sat in a diner and I talked about this with you, but I just didn't have any information on it. I knew nothing about it. When you Google it, it's like, it's so expensive that it's off-putting. I mean, literally, if I was to get this procedure done in New York City, it costs almost as much as 2 years of me going to college in New Jersey.
Right. Okay, now let's touch on that. Good segue. So why did you choose, and you kind of already showed your cards a little bit, but I mean, you can go anywhere on earth. You can go to America, you can go to Europe, Asia, anywhere you want to get a hair restoration. Why did you choose Turkey?
Showed my cards. So basically the reason why I went to Turkey was, how I found out about this was I've been doing research myself for the last couple of years. And like I said, it was very disappointing with how much money it costs. And I was saving up for it. But when you get to that point, you're like, do I really want to use this money on my hair or something else? So one of my barbers had actually told me that he had a client go to Turkey. And this man was like fully bald as a cue ball, very minimal hair. And when he next saw him months later, the man had a full head of hair to the point where he was coming back for haircuts again.
Right.
Full-blown haircuts. So it honestly came down to costs for me. And obviously I looked into it. So he gave me the name of the clinic. It was very reputable. and they the cost of the hair transplant was $1,600. Now, just to give you an idea of what that is, in New York City, it would be $30,000
Right.
for the same procedure.
Right.
In Miami, Florida, $17,000. For $1,600, not only did I get my hair transplant in a very clean, professional facility
Right.
that
Doctors.
honestly looked better than Hackensack University, and that's saying a lot because Hackensack University is the cream of the crop where we live. They included my meals for the most part. I got 3 dinners at a very nice restaurant. I stayed in a 5-star hotel for 3 nights. I had transportation to and from the airport, to and from the facility. And I had a translator because obviously Turkey is very much a...
they speak Turkish.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that I had to pay for was my flight.
Yeah.
So this is why it took
You're
so
still
long.
winning. Right.
Right. So
Well,
for me, it wasn't even a matter of the cost of the flight. It was just, okay, I have to be away from work for a couple of days.
Right,
So like,
right.
when can I do that? When's the right time to do this? Because, I'm
Right.
going internationally and you want to have buffer time just in case things go wrong. Because, the world we're living in,
Yeah.
flights. As a matter of fact, my flight was canceled 2
Right.
weeks before this.
You're telling me, right.
And
Well, let me
I had
say
to
this.
rebook.
Let me say this too. I mean, a lot of people hear that and they say, "Was someone breaking into your joint?" So
No,
a
I
lot
was
of
just
people-
confirming the name of the facility because
Yeah. So, but a lot of people, like,
Oh no!
I'm going to witness a crime. What is it? No, but I mean, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I would never go to Turkey or a different country for anything medical because America, go to America. America's the best." And here's what I tell people: listen, America has excellent healthcare, no doubt. But guess what? It's modern day 2000, and we're going on 23 now. 2023, the world's a small place. We have a thing called internet and mass travel, and so a lot of these countries do it as well as America or better.
I'll say this.
This is not the 1950s where America is the only best medical place. And I have friends of mine that go to get surgeries in Korea, in South America, in Europe, and they love it. And they go, Anthony, as good, if not better than anything America can do.
Mr.
So,
C, just because we live in America,
in
there are people who live in Mexico, that people live in Africa, people who live in Asia. Are we the only ones who go to the dentist, who go to the doctor for a checkup, who have surgery done?
Right.
I mean, we're not the only. I think that's a very small bubble that, unfortunately.
Well, no, but I think people who say that, though, they're still stuck in 1970. In 2023, it's like you said, it's different. Yeah, back in 1950, maybe they would have had an argument about America is
sure, but we're not talking about
medical.
1950.
What's that?
We're not talking about 1950. We're talking about
but I'm saying what I'm saying is a lot of people who say don't go overseas, stay in America, they're still stuck in the 1950 mentality. They think that America's the only game in town.
Correct.
That would have been the case in 1950, but in 2023, you got hospitals and doctors that are in many places better than American medical facilities, or as good. So, anyways,
Turkey is world renowned for this process. I mean, they have as many clinics as we have Starbucks and McDonald's around.
Right.
I mean, even the place that I went to, I highly recommend. They have been nothing but wonderful to me. They've been in constant contact with me. But there are, you and I just went out for dinner the other night. We went to in Englewood, New Jersey. What was the first thing the waiter said to me when he walked up to us?
My friend, you went to Turkey?
Literally.
Like, how did he know that?
I was like, how did you even know that I went to Turkey? He's like, I recognize the work. Because that's how great they are at this. And like I said, I have never seen better bedside manner. And these are people who didn't speak English to me. And they were making me feel so comfortable and so safe. And, look, there was an issue in Turkey just a couple of weeks ago with, the things that are happening there. And I was a little worried.
Right.
And I got to tell you, when I was there, I never once felt unsafe. And I traveled alone to another continent.
Well, listen,
I never felt unsafe. I felt extremely pleased. Everybody was so friendly.
Right.
And not even just the folks who I hired for the facility, the people of the country were just wonderful.
Right. And most people, by the way, I know you already alluded to this. And well, I mean, I know you said you had a translator, but you know what? If you go overseas, and you've been overseas, I've been overseas, most people in most countries, they speak English, so I think a lot of times people who are not travelers, and I'm not some big traveler, but I've been out of the country, and
I use Google most of
the time. You don't even need that. Most people speak English, no matter where you go. English is very.
I will say in Turkey, where I was, I mean, outside of certain restaurants, I mean, not every employee spoke English, but I was able to get around. Right. But the people who didn't, I literally would just talk into my phone, and then we'd hand it back and forth, and it was easy as pie.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you this: what was the biggest pleasant surprise of this whole journey, literally and figuratively, with your hair restoration? What
The
was something
results.
okay, the results. Yeah, I mean,
So this morning, right before I attended Wellness Week, which is, don't get me wrong, the #1 program on the internet today.
thank you. But
If you're
Mike,
not subscribing,
you're showing your head,
yo,
but
dude, swipe that button right there.
that's
Hit
right.
the
Hit that,
subscribe
baby.
button.
Hit that.
See,
Hit that.
baby. We gotta
No,
get
but
you going.
Mike, what I'm saying is though, you're showing people your head, but too bad they couldn't see what your head was prior to the procedure because you were, yeah. I mean, you had no hair up here, and now you do. You can start to see it's coming in.
I definitely. So just to give you guys an idea, this is where my problem was. Right here on the sides, I had hair like almost like a mohawk.
Yeah.
And were you able to see me? I can't.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, everyone watching can see it.
Right here, this is the brand new hair growth. This morning, right before I came on Wellness Week, I actually washed out the scabs.
Nice.
So now this is like my actual hair now.
Okay.
And they just borrowed it from the back of my head.
That was my other question. Okay, you answered it. So it's your own natural hair.
So this was a process called FUE. There's a few different processes. This is scar. I have no scars.
Right.
My head is still healing. Like it's been very sensitive. Every day, kind of like it tickles or there's like an itch. And that's a good sign though, because it means it's healing. There's a bit of numbness throughout, but like it started in the back. I have feeling now back in the back of my head again. They actually, the best way to describe it is they put a cream on you that spreads the skin a little bit,
right.
And they give you injections. It's no different than going to the dentist and getting work done. It hurt. It was like the equivalent of like when you're a kid and you get your reflexes tested with an arrowhead and like, it hurts. So imagine it on your head for like 10 minutes and it sounds like a staple gun. That was the extent of the pain. Yeah. And I wouldn't even call it pain. I would call it more of an annoyance. Yeah. I was kind of like jumping a little bit, but then after a few minutes, I was in a local anesthesia. I was in a daze. I was fine. They borrow hair. They essentially use a tweezer and they pluck hairs out and they actually just implant it into your head. And before we started the procedure, the doctor actually drew with a marker my hairline.
Right.
That you
and
see
so,
right now.
And in the future, this hair will grow normally. You can get haircuts. This
is lifetime.
Okay, cool. How long did the procedure take when you were in the chair or the bed or whatever?
I was in it looked like a massage chair that you would see at the mall.
Right.
It was about 6 hours long.
And can you have a bathroom break or something?
I had to use the bathroom for sure because
they'll let you do that.
They didn't have me fast, so I had to pee very often. Unfortunately, I had to hold it in. So I peed before. There was a break for lunch. They gave me food.
Oh, cool.
I used the restroom.
Right.
And then again, it's part of the feeding me, taking care of me. And then I at the end, I used the restroom again.
Oh, okay. Fine. What was the?
I literally walked around that day. I was exploring the city.
Yeah. So okay. And what was the most difficult part of this?
Probably just the research going into it.
Right.
I mean, again, I didn't know anything about this. I was saving up money for a long time for this.
Right.
This is very important to me. I'm a person who, I love my hair, and I wasn't ready to be a bald guy. Although I will say, when they shaved my head before the procedure, I actually realized I've grown into my body over the years. So like I was a lot happier with how I looked being bald.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Nonetheless, much happier to have a full head of hair.
Right.
But I mean, I would say just the process, and I'm coming on Wellness Week, and I'm going to be doing some posts of my own.
Yeah. By the way, I applaud you for doing it because a lot of guys or women, understandable, they might not want to talk about it. So I applaud you for having, bravery to come up. And I say bravery, obviously, I'm not talking about like World War II storming the beaches of Normandy bravery, but nonetheless, a level of bravery that you have exhibited to talk about it because a lot of people are struggling with it. Let me ask you this, though. What is the prerequisites to get a hair restoration? Like, can anyone get it? Do you have to be healthy to a certain level, or what would preclude somebody from not? Would the doctor say, "I'm sorry, we can't help you"? I mean, I know it's a little bit deep, and you're not a medical professional, but
well, first and foremost, thank you for the compliment. It is definitely something that was a little scary. I traveled to a different continent.
No, but I'm saying your level of bravery to speak about it too. I'm saying.
But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, it's part of the process. I got to talk about it in order to get to where I am. And like I said, I don't want to just see people see me with this full head of hair and act like as if it was my own. I know there's a lot of guys out there who struggle with this. And unfortunately, as you know, Mr. C, guys don't talk about shit.
Yep. So wait, what would be would a medical? Again, it's a big question, and
so to answer your question, so in order to be a candidate, and again, I'm not a medical professional, but from what I've gathered, obviously you should be. No, not morbidly obese. Talk to your doctor before doing any type of procedure. And in terms of hair, as long as you have, most guys when they're bald, you need to have obviously hair to borrow from. So as long as there's like a crown of hair they could pluck from, you're fine.
Okay. And now,
Obviously, it'll deter. It'll, I was told that I'll have a good result because I'm not fully bald or was
right.
not fully bald. So your level of your result just depends on how much hair you have to borrow.
Right. In closing, what advice would you give someone who's thinking about or struggling with or thinking about getting a hair restoration? What advice would you give that man or woman?
Do it. They also do beards. They do different things. I mean, it's the cost is nominal. It was a vacation. I've spent more on vacations than I did on this, and I got a vacation. I got a hair transplant out of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the American healthcare system is a little broken, but that's another conversation. And this would have been a ridiculous amount of money for me to do this in New York City, and I would
Right.
have been saving up for it or paying for it for the next 10 years. And I
Right.
don't know if I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, and I think what you did is really analogous to someone getting like, a veneer or dental work done to make their smile better, or maybe if they have a feature that is making them not feel good about themselves, getting some kind of level of plastic surgery, and I think, again, I tell people, make sure you're going to a reputable doctor, a reputable place. Don't go to these back alleyway places where I know a guy or a girl, they do it in the basement. Like, please, 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 if you can't afford to get an actual medical doctor, reputable place to do your procedure, then don't do it. It's not worth getting sick. It's not worth, God forbid, losing your life. I mean, anything can go wrong with these. Anything can go wrong. Even
it
with
was funny if you ever go to Turkey and you take a flight, you will see so many guys looking like you. Because when I was coming home, all of the same guys had the exact same hair. You could tell the same procedure done, and we were all fist bumping and stuff.
Oh, well, I take it as a compliment because I mean, my hair, I'm all right now, but
yeah, Mr. C, you definitely should go to Turkey, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have balding up here, which you can't see, but yeah. Again, to each his own. Some people might like the bald look. My co-host, usually Magnus, he's totally bald, and that works for him. Whatever, you know what I mean. But yeah, who knows? We'll see when and if I get to that spot. But yeah, Mike, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we sign off? And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Mr. C. I appreciate your time. And thanks for having me on. Wellness Week. This is the #1 show on the internet. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm gonna blow you up, Mr. C.
That's it. All day, baby. Anything else?
So anyway, in closing, I definitely think that this is something that a lot of guys struggle with. The idea of going bald, and for some, I had a college roommate who went bald at 18, wow. And I started noticing it got worse for me, and I took medication for years. And it caused me other problems.
Oh, you took medication for your hair?
I took Propecia. Oh, okay. My mother was a dermatologist, and that was like the drug of 2006. And unfortunately, they didn't know long term that it caused some other issues. I had some pelvis issues as a result of it, and it's nobody's fault. It was a lot of guys. And then it took me a long time to figure that out because guys don't talk about shit.
Right. No, and again, I appreciate you bringing it up to help men out there mostly, about the situation. And, it might seem trivial, but, hair is such an integral part of who we are as human beings, and it's important.
You feel youthful with hair. I mean, like I'm 36. I'm not in my 50s or 60s, not that that's old, but it's just one of those things where like I felt older than I was, and I looked in the mirror and I just didn't like who I was looking at. And I'm in great shape, great physical peak conditioning, but it's a matter of like, you look at your hair and like, that's the first thing people are going to notice about you.
Yeah, and kudos to you for taking control and agency of your life and not sitting there and hoping and wishing and complaining. You got up and you did something about it. So kudos to you, man. But
say thank you.
Yeah, and to each his own. Like I said, whatever works for people, you do you. All right, cool. I'm going to sign off, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us on Wellness Week Live.
Smash the subscribe button. Literally, smash your computer.
That's right. Smash it, baby. All right, man. Thanks, everybody. I'm signing off. 5, 4, 3, 2.